right now. We're talking Uganda diaspora participating in economics and the economy of Uganda. My name is Lynn Komjisha. Those of you who don't know me, I am supposed to be the host. Dennis, I'm glad you took over. You helped us sort that quickly. So let's quickly head into it because we've lost a lot of time. Recently, we were hearing from the Bank of Uganda Governor Emmanuel Tumusiime Mutebere, who said that the economy is seemingly, transiting to quite a stable place, and he says that the economic growth is set to grow in the range of 3.5% to 3.8% in the financial year 2021-2022. I'll start with you, Dennis. Dennis Aguma. Dennis Aguma is a founder and ED, NASE Africa. I think, Dennis, you can quickly update us on what that is, just briefly, so we can know what we're dealing with. And you are in the field of economics. Please just get us into it and let's see how is our country performing? How are we doing? We're looking at this pandemic and perhaps things look very ugly. You might paint a picture that we might really acquaint ourselves with. Please, Dennis.
Into entrepreneurship. And economics and entrepreneurship are like cousins. So I'm the executive director for an organization called NACE Africa, which was originally the National Association of Student Enterprises. We do a lot of work with youth entrepreneurs and also business incubation, so supporting people to come up with their business ideas and helping SMEs scale. Recently, we have been doing some work around the Africa Free Continental Trade Area, trying to pump up Uganda's preparedness to trade within the African market. So that's what we do in a nutshell, but I'm also a student of
COVID-19 so much, and there is worry that we might not be doing well. But our Ugandans in diaspora really are looking at a different picture when they look at Uganda right now.
Last evening, I was having a coffee with a friend of mine, and we were talking about something similar. It's very easy to shut down an economy. It's really very easy to lock down, but it's very hard to ignite an economy, even when you have all the fiscal tools at your disposal last time. And I could see the government of the United Kingdom, as was very many other countries, literally pumping money into economies, trying to bail out banks and all sorts of things. And even up until recently, the governments were still trying to recover from the lethargy of the credit crunch, far away as it was. And I was also in the UK when the first lockdown happened, and I could see the kind of initiatives that were put in place. The Chancellor of the Exchequer, for instance, in the UK, said to all businesses, please do not lay people off. I'll pay their salary up to 8,000, up to 80% of their salary. Can you imagine the whole economy? Someone says, don't lay people off. I'll pay up to 2,000 pounds for every individual. And that was not all. There was a lot of support for businesses and things like that. So we have, and I've not seen the same amount of effort, from the Ugandan government. The last we attempted to distribute 100,000 shillings, which is probably about 20 pounds or something. Exists to solve challenges like this. Some of the biggest businesses were born actually out of the Great Depression. So where there are challenges, where there are problems. New services. I've seen a lot of stuff happening in the digital world. People in Nakasero market. I was talking to colleagues at the UNDP. One of the projects we do work with is funded and supported by the UNDP. Through Jumia, they were able to connect the typical lady of a Mudala to sell her potatoes and onions. These things are not necessarily happening, or at least not in the same way and scale that would have had or wanted. So it's a double-edged sword. What I'm seeing, there are those who are obviously losing. Lots of people have lost their property. People who were in are beginning to change. So there is some glimmer of hope, so to speak.
Some glimmer of hope, so to say. I want to pick Albert. Albert, I want to pick your mind on what you see. I just need you to take a few minutes. What you see from there, vis-a-vis what Dennis has told us, and what we see, what you hear about what's happening with the economy of Uganda. But you're there. What do you see? What do you think is going on with our economy currently?
Good afternoon, Lynn, and good afternoon, fellow panelists. So I with Dennis, and it is not any different here in the US from where we are standing. The US government is still trying to pump money into the economy. Right now, some hear the news, but it's actually part of my life. So Uganda hasn't done that, or if it has, we haven't seen it. Yeah. And we have had these conversations previously regarding how there has been a failure of the government to tap into its diaspora community. We are sons and daughters of Uganda, but we have not had that concerted effort to entice us as sons and daughters of the soil to help. I'm not sure how it is in London with Dennis and the people over there. That concerted effort here. Some of our African brothers, like the Nigerians and the Ethiopians, have what they call diaspora bonds, and that are really pulling money and looking for investment opportunities back in Africa. Uganda hasn't done that. Actually, it's not even just leaving us as we are. They have actually done the opposite. The government has, and we've had these conversations before, has really interjected itself in the diaspora community. That our people are accustomed to are really no longer suitable for these times. In Uganda, and I grew up there, and how it is on Kampala Road. But honestly, that is not really a capitalistic model that can be sustained. We need to pool resources. Here, people don't really, somebody doesn't build a hotel. You pool money, you set up a company, and you hotel. You suppose your sons and daughters are not interested, then the business fails. And you have seen that over and over in Uganda. So, and why are people doing that? Again, because there's that lack of trust in the system, in the institutions, both judicial and business systems themselves, and government institutions. So the government could do well in improving those to both entice us as sons and daughters of the soil to come and invest, and also to help those small entrepreneurs that Dennis was talking about. People are doing, and yes, these are the times that actually bring out ingenuity and entrepreneurship spirits in people. They're doing. Uganda is really, people are persevering under these conditions, heavy taxation, regimes that I have seen people complain about. Dennis talked about Jumia. I saw the Ronnie the other day on a similar show talking about how the taxation is really stifling their growth, the taxes on the internet. So those are some of the things that Uganda can change. You can tap into our expertise and our resources, and you can also ease up on the restrictions and the corruption that is taking place to help these businesses grow. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Albert. So we are looking at how best the Ugandan diaspora can participate in Uganda's economy. Miriam, are you there? I would like for you to tell us what you have been out there. You are actually very active in Ugandan politics, in Uganda. You're active in everything Ugandan. We are looking at this economy. Before we can head into how the Ugandans in diaspora can participate, can be part of this and improve and maybe help harness things here and there. What picture do you see? Dennis has given us his picture. Albert has given us his picture of what he thinks is going on. What do you think is going on so we can diagnose and find solutions to this?
I think the picture that Dennis and Albert has given is what is going on. I mean, it's out there and everybody can see it. And like Albert said, when you are in diaspora, you feel all of it, like how people are really stressed financially, how businesses are collapsing. Everything is going on. What is happening? What is disappointing? All those COVID aftershocks in the economic sector. What are they doing? All you see are them getting supplementary budgets. Politics, it's corruption here and there, and they are not thinking about the ordinary Ugandan, the business person, the Chikubo stall owner, the person who was locked out 2 years and they are going to pay school fees and they have to buy food. How are they surviving? Is the government thinking about that? How are they going to revive the economy when all SMEs get out of business? So those are the issues, the disappointments, and what can we do? I think we need to be optimistic and look forward. What can we do? We have great ideas, but if the government is not open to receiving them, to harness them, nothing can be done. Nobody is organizing the diaspora community. If you look at the Asian tigers or the other countries in the Middle East, they developed, countries like China, Malaysia, and all the others. They developed by harnessing from their diaspora community. You get to the technological transfer, you get to the business investment. It's not like you're gonna look up to a Muzungu. In Uganda, there is a tendency to look at that foreign investor, the Muzungu, coming with a briefcase and then just getting government incentives to invest and all that stuff. But those businesses, after getting all those privileges, fold offices and go back home and take all the profits, or it's just like a capital flight and hemorrhaging the economy further. What we need is to invest in our own people and harness from them. Give your people money, give your people, already we are patriotic, we care about our country, we have the resources and we want our country to get better. What organize our own community to build its own country.
Thank you very much, Miriam. Right, I see the ambassador has joined us. Can see him to, where has he gone to? Right, the ambassador Henry Maega of the United Arab Emirates is joining us. I think he's on and off. He'll be upgraded to a panelist. So we are looking at the issues affecting us as a country. Dennis, I want to come back to you. before we can get back to Dennis, I see the ambassador has joined us. Ambassador Henry Maega, are you set to speak to us, or can we wait a bit? I don't know if he's ready, but Dennis, get back to you. We have seen all these problems affecting us as a country. Now, our Ugandans in diaspora, they're saying they would love to participate. Where is the problem? First of all, what is hindering the diaspora from participating? Where is the problem at this particular point? What challenges are we facing as a country for our Dennis, please unmute yourself.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. I was saying that this is it's a chicken and egg situation. Which one comes first? Do we Ugandans in the diaspora wait for the government of Uganda to tell us what to do, or do we Ugandans in the diaspora proactively decide how we want to participate and hope government joins us? I prefer the latter option. Just to give you an example, I was at Kingston University when we set up NACE. So even though I was still doing my work in the UK, every year I would come back to Uganda, not just for work, but every time I was here, I would be interacting with universities around enterprise, entrepreneurship, doing quite a number of things. So much so that when an opportunity became available for our little organization to do a huge national project with the UN, we were there. So my rallying call, first and foremost, to the diasporans to proactively identify areas where they want to participate. The challenges that we tend to have is that in the diaspora, you have this big idea and you want to come and implement big stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes, since you left Uganda, lots of things have changed. The way business is done here is very different. There are institutional challenges to doing business in African countries, let alone Uganda. You have to be on the ground. You have to supervise. You have to do pretty much everything on the ground. So often our fellow diasporans come with these huge ambitions and they get frustrated. My prayer would be that you try and do a few things here and there, piecemeal, grow and learn. Don't come with this mentality of I am a diasporan, I know it all, this is how things should be done. I'll give you an example. I've been here almost a year now since the lockdown, trying to implement this particular project. Some of the things I think Albert and colleagues have talked about them. Doing business here in Uganda is really hard. Trust, systems, infrastructure, very many things are challenging. So you're not going to wait for all those to be ready so that you are able to start. I would implore every Ugandan to participate, to have a go, to identify some key champions that you can ally with on the ground, and as whatever you're working on grows, then you pick it up from there. The other thing I wanted to mention on that same topic on how we can participate. There are very many I've met brilliant Ugandans in the diaspora, in the UK, in the US, World Bank, whatever, NASA, name it. There's a Ugandan somewhere there doing their thing. And we tend to underestimate, not even those who are in NASA or the World Bank, even the ordinary Nkubacheyo, they underestimate how much value they have, how much impact they have, how much knowledge they could bring to bear. That if they applied themselves, even at a very small level in their villages, they would be surprised by how much impact they can have. Once you begin to see the small seed that you've sowed and it's beginning to bear fruit, you can start building from there. So one of the things is maybe for our people to not underestimate, however small, the thing that they're doing. But the thing that has frustrated me the most in the diaspora, frankly, has been the lack of cohesion as a diasporan community. I'll give you an example. I'm a Muchiga from Kabale. In the diaspora, and I think it's fair to say that the vast majority of the diasporans, if I was to use UK as an example, if a vote was to be held, the vast majority would vote for the opposition. And as if that is not enough, the view of the diaspora, the typical average diasporan, the view they have of someone who comes from the West in the diaspora is not charitable. So much as I'm a Muchiga hustling, just like they're all hustling, I've nothing to do with the government, never had a single dime from government, not even my school fees. whatever Uganda, our cities tied together. So we need to disintegrate those tribal sentiments, especially when you're in Europe, because they really don't, they don't build us, they don't help us. We need to come together cohesively and work towards one particular purpose. But I do acknowledge that when the politics on the ground is not well, if you're in the diaspora and you're not on the ground, you worry. So I understand where the worry is coming from, but then what do? Do you just worry and go and sleep, or do you come together and do something about it? Over.
Right. Thank you very much, Dennis. Dennis seems to think you guys need to stop making a lot of noise, sit down, come up with ideas. Don't just, point fingers. Things are not okay. Make noise and just leave it there. Right. Thank you very much, Dennis. I'd like to welcome Ambassador Henry Maega, the Deputy Head of Mission, United Arab Emirates. Thank you for joining us. And you have the floor. We have had that there are a number of challenges that Uganda is currently facing in terms of investment, especially for our Ugandan diaspora. There's, institutional challenges, infrastructure challenges, the whole lot. But you, as an ambassador, you've been in this for a while. You were previously with Beijing, now United Arab Emirates. Give us a picture of what you see. Our economy, first of all, has been disrupted by COVID-19. However, our economists and of course, the Bank of Uganda governor seems to think our economy is, we are fairly doing well. Our Ugandans in diaspora want to invest back home. They want to participate in the economic growth of the country, but there are a couple of challenges. What do you have to tell us, Ambassador Henry? Ambassador, please unmute.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. Of course, I must say that I'm very happy for the opportunity that has been given me to take part in this discussion. And so happens that yesterday, actually, we had a meeting with the diaspora here in the UAE, and we were talking about similar things. How do the diaspora, the Ugandan diaspora, contribute to national development? Of course, my suggestions are as good as anybody's through remittances and taking part in the discussions about how the national economy should be developed. And of course, at a time like this one, when the pandemic is still ravaging many parts of the world, including our own country. But the important one is what you've asked. And I'm sorry I joined late. I missed a little bit of the first parts of the discussion. But yes, what do we do as a country? What has the diaspora got to do in order to take part in the development of Uganda? There are many things that can be done, of course. And people are aware, irrespective of whether you support the government or you don't. For us as diplomats, representing our country wherever we are, our job is to make sure that we take care of all Ugandans, irrespective of whether they support the government or they don't. Because it's just an imperative that everybody takes part in the development of Uganda, make contributions in terms of remittances that can be reinvested and so on and so forth. But I will specifically talk about what's happening in the UAE at the moment. Of course, as you kindly pointed it out, I started with China, but I'm now in the UAE. In the UAE, we have over 100,000 Ugandans, and they are doing a good job in terms of pooling resources together and individually also sending them back home to do all sorts of projects. And irrespective of whether they support government, they are members of the NRM or they are not, the fact of the matter is everybody is concerned about the trajectory of things in the country, especially when it comes to economic development. So how do we do this? How we do it is that I think quite a number of steps have been taken by government to make sure that the way the diaspora takes part in the development process of the country is done. There is a desk, for instance, in Parliament, and Parliament is just as concerned about how the diaspora can take part in the development of the country. So there is a desk that is responsible to oversee how the diaspora can be taken care of in terms of taking part in the development process of the country. So there is a desk in the Parliament, which was created a couple of years ago. There is also another desk that was created in the president's office. And there is a lady by the name of Florence, and unfortunately I forget the second name, who has been championing those efforts to make sure that the diaspora get as much information about how to take part in the development process as much as possible. There is also another desk that was put in place in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and he has also been very, very instrumental in as far as mobilizing the diaspora for development. And so all these desks, plus of course the rest of the government MDAs that are concerned about the development process of Uganda, have been working together to make sure that the participation of the diaspora in the development process of Uganda is as robust as it were. Now, besides that, maybe somebody should take into now. Of course, I'm speaking about the situation here in the UAE. Now, according to the statistics that we have at the moment, the remittances from the UAE, from the diaspora in the UAE at the moment, per year is in the region of $200 million US. And so you can see that volume of resources that flow from the UAE to Uganda in terms of things, but all that money is sunk into the economy of Uganda on a yearly basis, $200 million US. And Africa, I'm told that East African diaspora actually send much more resources in terms of aiding the development process than any other region in the world. And I was surprised that actually that is what it is, that the East African region sends much more money. Of course, there are other diasporas like the diaspora of the US, the diaspora in the UK, the diaspora in the Scandinavian countries. So at the end of it all, these are resources that are sunk in the economy to make sure that the development process is aided as much as possible. And I think that is a very big contribution. And therefore, the diaspora is taken as a very special interest group in as far as the development process is concerned. In the meantime, I think I want to stop it because I wanted to follow. I don't know how the discussions started, but I just wanted to stop there in the meantime so that I listen in and then I begin to make informed responses. Thank you very much.
Right, thank you very much, Ambassador Henry Maega. We also have Michelle from Foreign Affairs. Thank you for joining us. We are discussing how can the Ugandan diaspora participate in the development, in the economic development of the country. And I think you people out there need to appreciate that we are doing something good. We are doing something really good as a country. Now, there was concern that it is high time Uganda considered evolving its own version of the world's economic system, particularly free market economics, to stem the contradictions that occur by embracing the existing models wholesale. A group of economists cite that the Buy Uganda, Build Uganda policy and the whole import substitution approach is already contradictory with regional and continental engagements Uganda is already part of. Dennis, you are in entrepreneurship. You have seen what's happening on the ground the year you have been here with us, and the president was pushing for Buy Uganda, Build Uganda, import substitution versus export substitution, yes. So I want us to look at that in vis-a-vis participation of the Ugandan diaspora.
Thank you. But before I do that, I just wanted to make a contribution to what Ambassador Henry was saying about remittances. There is no doubt that Ugandans send more money to Uganda from wherever they are, much more than anyone else, not foreign direct investment, not even donors and aid. Apparently combined, we still support our country. The only issue is that some of these remittances are maybe not necessarily counterproductive. They just meet small daily needs here and there, but they're not significant. They're not coordinated enough to irrigate an economy. I'll give you an example. If an investor comes from the United Arab Emirates and comes with, let's say, $100,000 whatever, to invest in this country, they'll be treated as an investor. They'll probably get some land somewhere and set up and do shop. maybe get a tax holiday or something like that. And yet, there are Ugandans that we know who have that amount of money that they've sent to this country, even for projects. But sometimes I think being a Ugandan might disadvantage them. So I wondered whether there could be some special vehicles, maybe diaspora bonds of some kind, set up so that even the Ugandan diasporans themselves could be encouraged and enticed. So it would be helpful if they could also be given that same treatment. But back to the question you were asking about Bubu. Bubu, in principle, this is Buy Uganda, Build Uganda, is a brilliant concept. No country anywhere has developed without industrializing. And how do you industrialize? You do that through things like manufacturing. But for you to manufacture, you need a market. So Bubu, while it was good, the Ugandan market is very small. But now, thanks, the startups that we're working, that we're talking to, I would love to see has a huge market that I think we should focus on. And when we say diaspora, there's a tendency for the diasporans in Western Europe to think that they are the only diasporans. But we do have other Ugandans playing in the same space in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Rwanda. But while we're on that topic, and it's very interesting when we talk about the diaspora and we think of countries like, and I'm talking about the Africa Free Continental Trade Area, and we see borders being closed, like the one here in Rwanda. You know, how can we achieve the Africa that we need when there is no free engagement, free movement of people, goods? We should think beyond remittances, the kind that have been sent up until now to feed people school fees. Those are good. They catalyze. They became more encouraged Ugandans to come and invest here. If you go to Barclays or NatWest in the UK or Santander, you could very easily get a loan of £100,000 at about 3%, 4%, depending on your credit rating. Even if you came with that money and gave it a money lender here, you would still make money. The government, for instance, would have in terms of some infrastructure, healthcare space, or something along those lines. So back to answer your question, Lynn, diasporans need to interest themselves in their country, not necessarily because it's their home, but they should begin to now think about it as an investment destination. The government must make it interesting for them to think like that. They must put up incentives that will foster Ugandans to think of Uganda as an investment destination in terms of real estate. And there's a lot going on in real estate here. Rather than get a mortgage on a house in Camden, you could actually get a mortgage and invest that in real estate here. And the real estate here is developing very fast. The property prices almost double every now and again. So you're going to get more rewards. But unless the Ugandans are incentivized to think like businesses, to think like investors, unless the government recognizes them as such, we might still be seeing some small remittances here and there. And while we're on remittances, there are huge costs to actually remitting money. I was looking into this the other day. By the time the money gets to the person that it's supposed to get to, there's lots of small little charges that go along that chain. Someone needs to look into those as well. Hopefully try and get them lower. Over.
In their country. Let me pick your minds briefly, but you could also use the chat room if you have any question or comment. I see we have some attendees. So far, you've heard from the ambassador. There are desks that put up specifically for diaspora.
Earlier on, you said, I think somebody, was it you that said that Uganda has changed? So have we, your sons and daughters who have left Uganda. We have also changed. We have come, we've lived in these countries. We have seen how things are done differently than how they used to be done in Toro and in Kampala, where we grew up. So we also have changed. And you have to also look at us that way. For example, we are in the business world, we talk about return on investment, a stable investment and regulatory regime, opportunity cost. This money that you're talking about, that we should be investing in Uganda, there are other investment vehicles and opportunities out there in our faces. I have college funds for my kids, and the return is very minimal. I might never even make enough to actually put them to college by the time they go to college. It's very little. But I have to have the confidence to go and pull my kids 100 grand from their college fund and come and invest it in Uganda. I have to have some confidence. You have to tell me that somehow is worth my risk. There's, as we all know, there's a risk in investment. If I know that there is not a well-created vehicle that I can invest that money in, then I'm going to leave it in some American bond company or some college fund company, when actually that money could be growing my motherland, the economy in Uganda. So it's not like we don't want to. It's just that also our mindset as Ugandans living in the US here, that I can speak of, our mindset also has changed. I cannot go to school and get an MBA and somehow go pull money out of my kids' college and buy a piece of land where I know that tomorrow I could wake up and some big shot in the government has just gazetted it and put soldiers there to guard it, and the title that I got has been changed. I can't do that, you know. you know, goodness, I cannot. Because that is not if I know that could actually happen and I have no recourse. But these are the stories that we hear every day, that somebody actually could take your land. The land title that you have could also be the land title that 3-4 other people have. How is that possible? I mean, I live here and I used to interact some time back with the court system in the US. You'll sit in court the whole day and you will not hear a single real estate case. You will not hear a single case in a day or a week about somebody stealing somebody's land. It can't be rocket science. So those are some of the incentives and some of the risks that we're talking about. And it's not necessarily true that we're just sitting here and waiting for the government to first get everything in order so we can invest. No, we're investing. But as Dennis said, we're doing these things at a very small scale because we are also considering the risk involved. And you have to incentivize us. You have to give us a reason. Give me a reason. I'm sitting in my dining room, equity, and say, you know what, economy in Uganda. If you don't do that, I'll just leave it in here. What do I have to lose? Nothing. But it's also not working for me because I could pull it out and make money with it. But I have to consider the risk. What is the return on investment and what is the risk?
Thank you very much, Albert, for that. You want to be given the return on investment. First invest, and then you will see what will come out. You know, in Uganda they say you poke in the tickle the bush a little bit.
And then let me say
yes.
one little thing about the ambassador. And Ambassador Mayaga, thank you. Good to see you again. I think we last met in but good to see you. The ambassador talked about the desks. I'm here to see the results. I need to see the outcomes of your work. If I don't see that, you might as good as well not be working. But again, I'm not disparaging them. I'm sure they're hard workers. But the effect of their work is not visible, at least from where I am. Thank you.
Right, Albert, for governors. Kindly update, rather upgrade the person to panelist. I see them as MASH Foreign Affairs. Kindly put them as panelists. Maybe they might have something to say about these desks that we are talking about. Now, Miriam, do you have a comment there? I don't know if you have a comment on what the ambassador or what Dennis has mentioned, so we can move to the next round of discussion.
I have a comment on what the ambassador has said, and thank you. The ambassador actually gave us a lot of feedback we are missing by talking to ourselves and not listening from the government person. You said that there are various desks which are working on the diaspora issues, but I think those desks, they are just political and they are doing nothing as far as economics and development are concerned, or helping the diaspora people, the ordinary people. Like Albert, that's what Albert has said. I'm just emphasizing it because you don't see them anywhere. They just come up when there is elections. They come in, throw money around, mobilize, then go back and disappear when the election season is over. Why can't we have a ministry for diaspora community? The diaspora community in Uganda, according to UNDP, so far is more than 2 million Ugandans. That's more than an ordinary constituency in Uganda. We can actually have a ministry and members of parliament representing the diaspora community. In the coming elections, the constitution ruled that the diaspora community should participate in the elections directly by voting. How will that be organized? Because voting is another way of deciding the economic question. If the politics are not working in Kampala, the diaspora community can participate by changing the politics. But how is that going to be worked on? You don't see anything going on. You don't see anybody even organizing institutions that borrowing from diaspora and investing back home would be easy and more profitable. But who is going to organize the diaspora community? The divisions, the government actually does more harm by dividing the Ugandans in diaspora than how they are divided. Because of the geography, people are in different areas and they are physically divided, but then dividing further the diaspora, that's difficult for organizing communities and projects for investment. For instance, the way they interfere in UNAA organization, which is a non-profit organization set up to help the diaspora community organize. Instead of the government coming in to support such a small efforts, the government comes to fuel more divisions based on their political interests. That's a disservice to the diaspora community. And secondly, the cost of investing back home, like Dennis said, the remittances, the cost even of making a phone call, a direct phone call to Kampala is the most expensive in East Africa. It's cheaper to call Nairobi, it's cheaper to call Kigali. It's twice the amount to call Kampala. How can the government come in to reduce such a cost of sending money, making those phone calls? Because if you are away, there is no way you are going to coordinate business without making a phone call. Making things like internet more accessible and even to the ordinary Ugandan. Set up institution like vehicles at the Uganda Investment Authority to facilitate that and give ideas which areas the diaspora community can invest in. The diaspora community is as individuals, because when you hear remittances and like the ambassador is mentioning millions, those millions come in a few dollars, 50, 20, 100 here. And that money on itself, an individual like me, like Albert, you can't do any big investment back home. But if you are organized and that 200 million is one bunch of investment, that money can make a big difference. So as long as we continue just sending the 150 and we build houses here and there, and we don't put together ideas and we don't come together as a group to deliberately invest in the economy, nothing much is going to be done. And our people will stay the way they are. The government will also not benefit a lot. I mean, it benefits in the foreign exchange, but that's not what it should be. We should be setting up industries. We should be participating in tourism. We should be investing in education, in health. I think there are more incentives and more opportunities if we're honest. Today, Uganda is looking for investors, but it's ignoring everybody, all these Ugandan in diaspora and concentrating on, I mean, the virtual, I don't know, whatever they want. I mean, they are looking at the big time investors on the stock exchange or whatever, and why can't you mobilize the diaspora community to invest? Say they can start even small, maybe in securities, bonds, in the national securities. They can invest in NSSF. They can invest anywhere as long as they are well mobilized and there is trust and there is that confidence. And like they said, most people in diaspora are opposition. I don't think it's a coincidence, because sometimes people leave the country when they are too stressed to stay around. So if the government of Uganda wants to invest and utilize the diaspora community, they have to try to find a way to mitigate those political differences. We can disagree politically and work together economically. Being opposition doesn't mean you are not patriotic. And the money doesn't know the politics. And the government would benefit more, actually, whether the money is coming from an opposition supporter or not. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Miriam, for that. Francis Kamhanda has said, provided engaging the diaspora is routed by government as a tool to subdue the dissenting voices, we may not achieve a lot. Everything shall remain at micro level. Like any other diplomat, the ambassador is simply sanitizing the big problem. We need to break the yoke. That is Francis Kamhanda. Please do take advantage of the chat room, share, comment or question, and I'll be reading it here. Now, Michelle Kategaya he works, I beg your pardon, I'm so sorry. He works with the Department of Diaspora in Foreign Affairs, one of the departments the ambassador has been talking about. Michelle, please, you have the floor. Let us know what you have to tell us about whatever you've had so far.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, now.
Okay. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all well. Yes, I am Matt Kategaya from Diaspora. So I would first of all like to acknowledge my ambassador for your great work. I've heard of you. And now there are lots of questions that had come up that I would want to answer. So, number one, what is the government doing for the diaspora? We are finally setting up a new system that is going to help people in the diaspora how to read. How? We're setting up an app. So you will be able to say, if I want to buy a piece of land, what do I need? Give me a 10-step program. We're working with all the other government bodies.
Mash, I'm afraid your audio is a bit broken. We can't get. I don't know what you're going to do.
Now?
Aha! I think that is perfect. Yes.
Okay, this is better. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So, hello again. Sorry, technology. I would first of all want to acknowledge Ambassador for his great work and what he has done for the ministry. Now, let's move forward to what we are doing as the Diaspora Department of Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We are finding modern ways to move it forward. How are we going to do that? We're trying to draw up a 10-step program that will help Ugandans reinvest back into their country. So there are a lot of questions have come up because people know, should I go to NIRA? Should I go to Uganda registration, how do I reinvest my money back? With how much money will I need? So we're setting up business plans. We have been working on our policy. We are 50% there, to be honest, but we should, by around June next year, we should be fully functional. It has taken some time because, as the ambassador had said, there have been 3 different bodies doing the same thing. But right now we are trying to focus everything to come back to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs so that we can guide you. We can tell you the best ways to invest, the best prospects, whether it's agribusiness, whether it's infrastructure, whether it is even your own personal building a home, whatever you need to do. But all of that takes time and a lot of research. So we are working together with a lot of different ministries to bring forward. And one thing that I've been hearing a lot, as you have said, yes, I have heard that that Uganda has not been taking care of its people as well as it should be. Because I personally also studied in the UK. Who studied in the UK? There's someone here said studied in the UK. I personally studied in the UK, and when I went there, I felt whatever you are doing, come back home, and you have a chance to have clear policies, clear systems, a 10-step program. So I'm making a 10-step program because we want to simplify things, because I'm from the new generation. I'm a millennial myself. So me, I want A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I don't want something, that's going to confuse us. And I'm seeing a lot of comments here that please come talk to us. Please come and talk to us. The new modern diplomats, we are very open. The embassy is not a big building you should be scared of. It is your home. Come visit us, come register with us, please. We are here to help you. That is the reason why we have those embassies abroad. We are here to help you. So we are going through what is called, now we're not doing what is more called of cultural diplomacy. Sorry, my ancestors just came the L and R's. Now, so what we're trying to do now is make sure that you feel free to speak to us. So feel free to come forward. You can find us on the 4th floor. Ask for Mash Kategaya, they'll know me there, at Foreign Affairs, and you come and see me. You can come and see us. We're a big group.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
All right.
Right. Thank you very much, Mash, for updating us on that 10-step program that you're working on. Please make it very quick. We are tired of waiting and waiting forever. We have Francis Kamhanda here saying robust political institution, innovation, human resource capital, entrepreneurship, among other, underpin economic development. And he goes on to say that he's aware that what the diaspora needs is, 1, clear policies or systems. And then Albert comes in here to say, please, before you launch the 10-point plan, first come and talk to us. It is disheartening to always have programs launched without our input and or participation. Very wonderful ideas there. Now, Ambassador Henry Maega, I'm certain you've had quite a number of things. What is, what has caught my attention is that the International Monetary Fund has asked Uganda to consider lowering the cost of doing business in Uganda, which Miriam has highlighted, which Dennis has highlighted, which Albert has highlighted. So the cost of doing business in Uganda is still high, and especially for private sector growth. Now, when the Speaker of Parliament was speaking to the IMF resident representative, that is Isabella, recently, he did say that Uganda will promote local businesses, and he's trying to, tell us that things, they're trying to work things out. And I'm afraid, today I'm on the side of the diaspora for some reason. We have had these conversations, and the government keeps saying, we are working on this, we are working on that, we want to do ABCD. We have ABCD in the pipeline. Ambassador, please help us understand, for how long are we going to be in the pipeline? For how long is the IMF going to say, can you lower the cost of doing business? For how long are our people in the diaspora going to make comments on these particular things while we, continue to live anyway?
Well, thank you very much. Of course, it's a mouthful, things that have been said. Since I joined this conversation, Dennis and the rest of the people, thank you very much for the points you have raised. And I wouldn't agree more with many of the things you said. I mean, when it comes to incentives to the people in diaspora, so that whoever wants to reinvest their savings can easily do so. If you remember, whether they've been performing, that's a totally different question. But these desks, I don't think are more than 5 years old. They're a recent creation. And so just like a child grows through crawling and then standing and then beginning to walk and then run finally. I believe that these desks are going through those various stages. And I believe that eventually the desks, as I think the colleague from the Minister of Foreign Affairs pointed out, will come to fruition, and then everything gets coordinated. And there's just one center where the diaspora can voice their concerns about how they can invest back in their country. Now, having said that, the institutional challenges, of course, rhyme together with the lack of incentives or the weakness in terms of putting in place incentives for people to invest their money. The challenges are always there, but how do we overcome these challenges? In my view, I believe that if the voice of the people in diaspora, of which I'm part, by the way, because I also send money home to do little projects and also to look after my family. So I'm part of the diaspora, by the way. So how do we overcome these challenges? One of the ways, in my view, which I want to suggest to ourselves as people who are in the diaspora, is to make sure that the voice of the diaspora becomes much stronger than what it has been. Because together, that voice becomes strong, and therefore government is going to listen. And it's good that these institutions, even if they're not, they probably are not performing at the moment to the best of their capacities. I believe that it's a good starting point. And therefore, this strong voice, whether it is in the US, whether it is in the UAE or in the Scandinavian countries, in the UK, and so even East Africa and so on and so forth, as long as that voice becomes strong, and then we engage government, the diaspora engages the government on how to make sure that the bankable projects are readily available and that knowledge is known to everybody. It will become much easier if the RM or DP or FDC and so many other groups. The fact of the matter is that all of us are Ugandans, and therefore, if we come together and become strong and come out in a much stronger voice, I believe quite a number of these challenges will be overcome. Now, I just wanted to speak about something else that the government has put in place, the economic and commercial diplomacy that is being promoted in quite a number of Uganda missions abroad, basically to guide the people, irrespective of whether they are part of the diaspora or actually investors coming from these respective countries. It's called the economic and commercial diplomacy, which is a very, very important tool in as far as investment and as far as attracting. So this economic and commercial diplomacy is rolled out by the various missions abroad, and encourage also, because part of the economic and commercial diplomacy actually is the participation of the people in diaspora to take advantage of the good environment, good investment environment back in Uganda. So the economic and commercial diplomacy that is being rolled out by the various missions abroad is one other avenue, in addition to the desks that I mentioned, or that which is going to come out from the Minister of Foreign Affairs, as long as these desks are put together, and so that everything goes back to the Minister of Foreign Affairs. So that effort, in my view, is extremely important to be taken advantage of by people in diaspora. Here in the UAE, for instance, where I am, where we have, as I said before, over 100,000 Ugandans living in the UAE, we're encouraging the diaspora to not only send remittances, but also take part in looking for these bankable projects. I've just got a list here. Somebody has sent it from the Investment Authority in Uganda. And there are quite a number of bankable projects that should really interest people in diaspora so that they can put their monies in those projects and probably make a profit on them. It's extremely important. I wanted to mention this economic and commercial diplomacy as one of the tools that we can use as diaspora to make sure that we take back home. So if you can active missions, whether it is in the US or countries, Europe, all over the world, these missions, the embassies of Uganda will guide you on how, or you can visit actually their websites, because quite a number of these missions have got websites. I had somebody, for instance, mentioning that the government comes in to divide the diaspora. Well, I don't know the genesis of that one, because as far as I know, is that the government has a lot of interest in the diaspora. And that's why from time to time, the government contributes some little money towards administrative, because you see, the government is supposed to be there for you. Yeah, irrespective of whether you support it or you don't, it doesn't matter. For as long as they give money to diaspora associations in their respective countries, those monies, and which are not really, in my view, very big, are for purposes of administrative arrangements, as it were, so that you can have an office, you can have all these kinds of things. But if that money is being perceived as a tool by government to divide the diaspora, then probably that is a bit unfortunate. I don't think I want to agree that that is part of the process of dividing the diaspora, but rather to help the diaspora make sure that their offices run as efficiently and as effectively, because nobody's going to force you anyway that they vote for the government or don't vote for it. Nobody's going to force you, irrespective of whether they bring the money or they don't. So I don't want to agree with the argument that the government has actively moved towards the direction of making sure that diaspora put in place to make sure that the cost of doing business is actually as simple as possible. Because, for instance, and I don't speak on behalf of the Uganda Investment Authority, but I know it for a fact that the Uganda Investment Authority actually has now been made into a one-stop point where somebody can go and